In today's overall subject, I really want to talk to you about how you can actually implement manifestations in your day-to-day activities. So with that being said, let's dive deep because I strongly believe that every single one of us has the power to be a walking manifestator. And at the end of the day, it's your choice. And this is where I really want to give you some practical approaches for you to become aware of how much power you have versus idolizing all these other gurus when you can start becoming the guru of your own life. What's going on, guys? Welcome to our podcast, Walking Manifestator. I am your host, Alexa Peña, and in this podcast, I am on one mission and one mission only, and that is going to help you awaken your truest and highest self. Embrace and embody your true power and help you elevate to a completely new consciousness, a transformational journey with the walking manifestator you are born to be. So with that being said, I want to start off by sharing something that I find helps me tremendously in my journey when it comes to manifestations. So most people, they haven't really learned what manifestations mean, and they continue to believe that a manifestation is essentially something that is, whether it's out of this world, whether they think it's not in the religious perspective of what they want to agree to. There's a bunch of back and forth, perspectives when it comes to this, but I want to really simplify how I understand manifestations, and this is something that has been channeled through me. I believe that we all have the power to really tap into our internal dialogue and our internal essence and really communicate with our higher self. And when I say higher self, just for those of you that maybe haven't watched the past episodes, I visualize our higher self as that best version that we all have the power to imagine, right? Maybe right now you're working out and you have a goal in mind. Well, that higher self of yours would be that particular body type that you might be visualizing in your head. Or maybe you have exams that you're, taking right now. That higher self version of you would be that person that already has a license for whatever exam you are hoping to pass. So a lot of the times when we're in this manifestation journey, I find that most of us just ignore those conversations that we have the power to have with our higher self. And this is something that if you can start implementing in your life, it's going to really help you. It goes hand in hand with our gut feelings, right? There's sometimes we go through something in life that we just feel like this is something that is not for us. And yet, even though we felt that, we pursue it, right? Whether that be a job, whether that be a relationship, whether that be a conversation that you could have gone a separate or different way, whatever the case might be for you. So this is something that when I talk about manifestations, I want to simplify it, which is it's simply a conversation that you are constantly having. And by doing so, you're giving it energy. Now, life is not going to give you what you don't want. It's going to give you what you're constantly manifesting internally with your thoughts, with your dialogue, with your feelings. So in this process, most people are constantly manifesting what they don't want because they're so afraid of being in that situation again. So I'll give you an example, right? When I was barely trying to grow in my industry for real estate, I was really concerned at times about not having enough knowledge compared to other people in the industry. And as I allowed that negativity to feed into my subconscious, it would cause my overall external circumstances to slow down. Whether that be maybe I had a lead that was actually interested and all of a sudden that person was deciding, hey, you know what, I'm probably going to hold off, whatever the case might be. I started really noticing how when I was in I call it now a vibrational match to what I was looking to bring into my energy. But when I was an energetic match to that, I would notice how things effortlessly would flow into my reality. So what I mean by this is, if I was like, okay, you know what, maybe I don't have all the 20 plus years that these agents have been doing this for. However, I do have a competitive advantage, which is I'm going to work harder than these agents because a lot of them, they have gotten comfortable, right? So I am going to outwork my competition, and I'm going to have this charisma, and I'm going to communicate with my clients in a point of what I would have wanted to receive when I bought my first house, right? So I change that dialogue from what I don't have to what I do have. And this is something that most people, when they're learning to manifest, they have some contrast with, because they're so consumed on what they yet don't have that they continue to feel like, well, how can I manifest that into my life if I don't know what it's like? Well, you just shift your overall focus. You focus on what it is that you do have in order for you to gain that energy, that feeling of, oh wow, I really am radiating, energy, and I am attracting this type of, whether in this case be a client, right? Or whether it be a new opportunity, whatever you're seeking. So I share this because I find most people, I have this one person that I was talking to about manifestations, and you could tell, especially when you're in this journey of really being aware of your energy and your feelings, you can see other people's feelings very clearly. And I was talking to this person, and you could tell he was really not in alignment with what I was sharing with him as far as the manifestation journey. And I had two options, right? I could sit there and go back and forth with him about how it's impacted my life, or I could simply share with him a perspective. And if he chooses to actually listen to that internal gut feeling that maybe awoke something within him, great. Or if he chooses to continue to allow his paradigm, his belief system, his upbringing into what he is going to continue to identify with, and that's also his right? So in your manifestation journey, the best thing that has happened for me is just becoming aware of the fact that I am not my thoughts. I am the consciousness above my thoughts. And this is something that I get really excited to talk about, because as we came back home today from this little museum thing that we had going on for my eldest son, he was basically covered in red paint, okay? And as a parent, dealing with the kids, and then your business, and then you still have other things to do, and then I still want to go and do some time to go and work out. So as a single parent, you have so many things to handle that sometimes it can be overwhelming, right? Or even if you're not a single parent, you can be with a partner and still feel overwhelmed because maybe you feel like there's a lot on your plate, right? So there was a moment when that was happening that he got out of the shower, and it was the 10th gazillionth time, right? I know that's not a word, but we're going to make it a word for now. And I've mentioned this to him: stop letting water drip down the curtain because it's getting all over the floor. And I saw it, right? And I had two options. Number one, yell and just completely bring energy that was not conducive to the environment, or try a new approach, which is when you start breaking those old habits because of how you were raised. Now you're becoming the observer. And what I did at that moment, I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to yell. I became the awareness above my thoughts. And I was just like, Alexander, you need to clean this up, please. And that was it. And then after that, there was a few things that usually come after that happened. And usually at that point, I would be like, okay, I'm going to make it a point to make this little boy understand that this is not what we do. And then I became, again, the consciousness above my thoughts. And I was like, why is this bothering me so much? Okay, well, it's bothering me because I don't want to have to go back and clean it. And then that consciousness was like, okay, but is it the end of the world? And I was like, no, it's not the end of the world, right? And then that thought drove into another awareness and was like, you're going to miss this at one point in life, right? You're going to miss these situations when he's not here anymore. And I find it so refreshing to have that perspective, because if we're not able to live in the now, we get this anxiety overload and we feel like everything just needs to be done. And I'm sure whatever you're going through in your life right now, there is a situation that you're going through, and there's a reason why you're listening to this message right now, that you feel maybe sometimes you're looking to grow, you're looking to become a better version of you, but yet maybe you find yourself overwhelmed because you're like, gosh, but I'm trying so hard and I'm doing all these things that seem to be in alignment with my end goal, but why aren't things happening faster? And here's the interesting part in your manifestation journey. You need to constantly remind yourself that you're not going to bring that into fruition and that being in your 3D reality until you become an energetic match. And even though you might be feeling as if you're doing X, Y, and Z, if there's still moments where you need to learn a lesson from that, it's going to continue to repeat itself because there's not anything that you've actually gained from that experience. Therefore, it's manifesting in different outlooks and different perceptions. So I was having this conversation with somebody about how they were questioning, right, if when you're manifesting, how exactly is it that you can see if you are on the right path, right? How is it that you know what is something that you should be implementing and what's something you shouldn't be implementing? So I'll give you an example. Tarot cards, right? A lot of people give them so much meaning, but the reality is that you are actually the person that is giving them that energy, that meaning. They're just simply another tool. And in reality, you have that intuition within you if you were really going deep down inside and listening to what really resonates with you. And this is why really doing the inner work within you is extremely important in this manifestation journey, because until you become conscious of what it is that you are subconsciously thinking about, you're always going to keep bringing that into your existence. And here's a fun fact that I think has also really helped in my journey, and it's to stop comparing yourself. And don't get me wrong, I know comparison is something that as humans we naturally do because we see what maybe another person in their life has, and then we compare like, why am I not receiving that into my life, right? But here's the thing, their journey is not your journey, okay? Their manifestation might be already happening in one way, but you always have to remember to not be deceived by what you see externally. And a lot of the times, people believe that somebody that appears to have like the beautiful family and the spouse by their side and the monetary side of things, you might believe that they're really happy. But if they haven't done the internal work to find happiness, regardless of what their external circumstances look like, you're never going to be fulfilled. And Tony Robbins says this: success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And this is why if you can learn to master this one thing, like this one thing, your internal dialogue, it is going to have a ripple effect on everything else you do. Because not only are you becoming aware of the fact that you shouldn't be judging them and comparing yourself, but you should actually be, if anything, happy, right, for the fact that they have those things. Because as we've talked about, and I'll do another episode if this is something you guys are interested in, but I believe in the law of one. The law of one really talks about we're all connected. And if we're all connected, whatever I'm doing to you, I'm doing to myself, good or bad. So when you can actually be happy for somebody, genuinely happy for somebody, that stuff comes back to you. And I've lived it. I've lived it countless times where I've seen how I've been happy for somebody, like genuinely happy, and then life in one way or another takes care of me. And I'm like, wow, like I wasn't necessarily expecting anything out of the situation, but because I was genuinely happy and there's a frequency there, you are attracting that into your life. Another quick example that I want to give to you in your journey. So we talked about, being aware of the fact that you're not your thoughts. We talked about how important it is for you to understand in the law of one, right? Whatever you're doing to somebody, you're doing to yourself. But another key component in your manifestation journey is really to ensure that you are taking time to enjoy the now. And most people forget to enjoy the now. And I know what that feels like because sometimes in my head, I have such a vivid picture of what everything's gonna look like when I have touched the hearts of many people to believe in themselves. Because as I've shared in previous podcasts, that's my goal. Like, I want to service people. I truly want to help people see the beautiful power that each one of us has inside of us and how we can, as a collective consciousness, just pay it forward. Because if we are healed, then we can heal, right? If we are loving ourselves, then we can love others. So when I see that and I see that vivid picture in myself, I know to some people they might be like, oh yeah, BS, right? Bullshit. That's not true. And there's a hidden agenda. And you just have to remind yourself that there's a reason for why they perceive it that way. They're perceiving it that way because they cannot fathom to care for anybody else versus themselves, because they haven't taken the time to really be in their energy and be in their now and understand themselves. And you need to remind yourself to just show grace to people like that. There's a lot of times whenever we make like a video, whether it be for like our real estate agency or whether it be for something related to my coaching, and there's sometimes people that will come about in the woodworks that will comment something that's a lower frequency, right? If it comes down to, I don't know, if I'm talking about the market and I say something about, why it would be a good time to buy if it's the right time for you, somebody might say, well, yeah, but taxes are so high and interest rates are so high. And I can sit there and argue back with him or simply give him my perspective and tell them like, look, but if it's not the right time for you, that's okay, right? Like, it's not the right time for you. Same thing with coaching. A lot of times people expect a coach to just like have their magic wand and like fix everything for you. But here's the thing, a coach is here to help you see what you don't see, the blind spots that you don't see within you, and help you with tactical approaches of how to get from point A to point Z based off what they have done. Okay, so don't go and learn from somebody that hasn't done what you want to do, right? But I share that because when you can start taking responsibility and living in the now, you can understand how a lot of these people that are at a lower frequency, they are just simply not understanding. And that was something that really resonated with me when I heard this from one of my mastermind classes that I had with one of my coaches. I spent over $20,000 in this mastermind that was like literally for just like, I think it was like 4 months. And they were sharing how a lot of the times people are very quick to basically want to bash on other people, right? And they're just set on their way and they don't want to grow. And you need to go from a perspective of judging to a perspective of they just don't understand, right? Like, how could you be mad at your baby for, I don't know, not wanting to drink the milk, right? And if they're a baby, you're not going to sit there and be like, oh, he doesn't want to drink my milk. Like, no, you're going to be like, oh, okay, he's a baby. He's not hungry right now, right? It's the same way that you want to start visualizing these adults, these teenagers, when they're in this like lower vibration and not engaging with them and not being like, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to make it a point to show them how wrong they are. No, just like, oh, they just don't understand. And you're not saying this from a side of like judgment. You're just saying it from a side of love, like compassion, like, oh, they don't understand. Like, I'm not going to sit here and argue with somebody that doesn't understand. Like, it's okay. Like, go on your course. I will continue on my course and I'm sending you the best of wishes, right? So these techniques are so important in your manifestation journey because what's happening is that you're creating this energetic field around you that is just radiating. And I'm telling you, this is where manifestations start coming faster, more easy, more effortless. But you need to really understand these core concepts. I did a course for the 12 laws of the universe, and we're talking about just how to implement these laws that are fundamental laws. And if you guys are interested, let me know and I'll do our next podcast to talk a little bit more about the universal laws. But if you believe in the law of gravity, okay, that everything that comes up has to come down because we're being pulled to the center of the earth, then you need to understand that there's like actual fundamental laws of the universe that if you learn how to use them to your advantage because you're learning to live in sync with them, you are just going to propel in ways that other people are going to see you like, how did that happen? Like, how did that come so effortlessly for them? And this is the part where you want to be in, because then you're not coming from a state of lack. You're not coming from a state of scarcity. You're not coming from a state of worries. You're coming from a state of knowing. And that's the part that I want everybody to get to. Because if you can understand that everything's already done for you, if you can understand that there is something internally within you that should resonate, even like hearing this message, and if there isn't, it's okay. It's just that there's a block there around that. There is a block that's holding you to either fear, self-sabotage, self-doubt, and you just need to recognize it, and you need to start working on it in order for you to release it. So if there's anything you can take away from this tactical approach to manifesting, is to remember you are not your thoughts. You are the consciousness above your thoughts. Reminding yourself that we are all connected. So whatever you're doing to somebody else, you're doing to yourself. Also, the key components here is, as we've talked about, their journey is not your journey. And understanding the power of now, understanding the fact that other people are probably not going to understand certain things that you're going to share with them, and that's okay. Don't sit there and argue with them. Don't sit there and exert this energy that you have worked so hard to clean and just purify, for you to sit there and argue with somebody that honestly is not going to understand it yet. They're going to understand it when it's time for them to understand. And the last one, like I said, just understanding how important it is for you to really do your internal work. Your internal work is going to be so important because it's going to allow you to break free from all of those programs that you had conditioned since you were little. There's something internally within you that is begging for you to work on yourself. If you think that the next best car is going to get that fulfillment for you, if you think that the next house, the next person that you date, the next item of clothing that you're going to wear is going to bring that to you, I'm sorry to break it to you, but it's just not. You need to find internal fulfillment, and internal fulfillment comes from really having a deeper sense of understanding, a deeper sense of knowing, a deeper sense of actually embodying your higher self. So this is something that I really want you to really just come into terms with and really embody to the highest frequency. And I want to read to you a quick little quote by Chris Prentice. And it says, "The more you engage in any type of emotion or behavior, the greater your desire for it will become." So for those of you that want me to dissect this, it's basically telling you what we just talked about when it comes to, you're not going to get out of life what you are not wanting. You're going to get what you're putting your energy into. So if your goal is to lose more weight, then stop telling yourself, oh gosh, I always slack it and I end up falling, I end up falling off my goals and I end up, starting to eat. No. Stop that. Just focus on what you want to do. Focus on your end goal. Focus on what it is that you want to see and say, okay, you know what? That's happened in the past. Recognize it, understand it, because sometimes when you ignore it, it will persist. So just be like, okay, it's happened, but you know what? This is a new time. We've shifted timelines, and we're going to focus on the fact that we want to be healthier. It's not about looks, it's about being healthier. And that's kind of what got me into my journey for manifestations. I just wanted to be happier and understand myself better. And that led to a world of opportunities just opening right before my eyes. So start with focusing on what you want versus what you don't want. And I promise you, this is going to help you so much in this journey for you to really become the walking manifestator that you are. Okay, so with that being said, I hope this episode was helpful for some of you, and if there's anything in particular that you guys want us to cover on the next show, please let us know. We're actually really excited because we should be getting a new office soon, and we're going to be moving, so if you watch this on YouTube, you'll be seeing a new scenery pretty soon, or if you're listening, well then check us out on YouTube as well so that you can see the background as we continue to grow. I want to thank you so much for your support because I know you're here to better yourself. You're here to grow, you're here to evolve, and there's something within you that is just begging for that growth internally. And I know exactly what that feels like. So I am so proud of you. Thank you so much for watching yet another episode of Walking Manifestator. And with that being said, I want to remind you, visualize, embody, and transcend. Be the walking manifestator you are born to be.